Now, when we're trying to decide something's a strong electrolyte, a weak electrolyte, a non-electrolyte, usually the easiest way to do it is to have a couple of simple rules to tell you whether something's a strong electrolyte. If it's not a strong electrolyte and it's an electrolyte, and that's something that dissociates into ions, and a strong electrolyte dissociates completely in the ions, then if it's an electrolyte and it's not strong, it's weak. The list of strong electrolytes is actually pretty short. There are millions of weak electrolytes. So, the first kind of strong electrolyte would be soluble salts. A salt is an ionic compound. And when a salt dissolves, it produces ions. And so if it's soluble, that means it dissolves, and when it dissolves, it will dissolve completely and dissociate completely into its ions. Examples of soluble salts is like sodium chloride, calcium chloride, sodium nitrate. There are all sorts of soluble salts. How can you tell if it's a soluble salt? When you stir it in and it's a salt, it dissolves. Now, the next kind of strong electrolytes are your strong acids. So we have strong acids. Now, strong acids, there's only 7 strong acids. If you can remember the 7 strong acids, then you have all of them. And a strong acid means that it is a strong electrolyte, which means the acid dissociates completely into the ions. And they are these guys right here. We have HCl, HBr, HI, HNO3, H2SO4, ClO3, HClO3, and then HClO4. And there are 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And when strong acids dissociate, they produce H+, and the corresponding ion that goes with it, and they dissociate completely. So if you have an acid and it's not one of the strong 7 acids, then it's weak. There are millions of weak acids. There are only 7 strong acids, and strong acids are strong electrolytes. They dissociate completely. You're not really responsible so much for the names, but once you see them often enough, you'll remember. This is hydrochloric, hydrobromic, hydroiodic, sulfuric acid, chloric acid, and perchloric acid. Those are your 7 strong acids. Now, the other kind of strong electrolyte is strong bases. Now, a strong base produces OH-. More on that in a little bit. And they are your alkali metals paired up with OH. Your alkali metals is in group 1. It's in group 1A. It's the very first column in your periodic table. And they are, if we look at our periodic table, we will see that we have everybody in the front, in the first row, with the exception of hydrogen. Hydrogen's a gas. And we see that we have lithium hydroxide, we have sodium hydroxide, we have potassium hydroxide, and rubidium hydroxide. These are all strong bases, and they're easy to remember. These are easy to remember. You have a periodic table in front of you. If you have a periodic table in front of you, then all you have to do is run down the list of alkali metals. Now, the other strong bases are what are called the heavy alkali earths, and it's starting with calcium, strontium, barium, and it's this heavy row here, and it's just these 3. So you have calcium hydroxide, barium hydroxide, and strontium hydroxide. So you have these 3 heavy alkali earths are also strong bases in that they will dissociate completely into their ions with none of the original compound left. So those are your three kinds of strong electrolytes. If they're not one of these three and they're an electrolyte, then they're a weak electrolyte. Like I said, there are only a few strong electrolytes. There's only a few strong acids, a few strong bases, and if it's not one of those, it's weak. It's something else.